Good afternoon, everyone. You made it here. We all made it here. Welcome. It's really so thrilling, just to see all of your faces as we begin this convening. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the heaviness of this time. And so I want to encourage us to breathe. I'm compelled to quote my dear former mentor, legal scholar, civil rights legend, Derek Bell, who was quoting the prophet Jeremiah when he said, "The harvest has passed, the summer has ended, and we are not saved." But the seasons do turn. You may have heard me talk about this time in our country, in our walk as planting season. And I consider today part of a diligent season of planting seeds that will yield the harvest for a new and better America. Now, I understand we need a quick harvest. We have a whole lot of time, but we can't get any harvest without planting. I have told multiple audiences of shiny, wonderful, successful people like everyone in this room that we are all beneficiaries of the harvest of those who did the planting in the civil rights movement, who put their lives and their bodies on the line to change and transform this country, to make rooms like this possible, to allow you to stay in the various places where you stayed on your way here and to be able to eat in the airport cafeteria and all the things that we take for granted now, but that were not possible in many places in this country prior to the mid-1960s. They did that work. And we have been the beneficiaries of the harvest. And I have warned that perhaps we wanted the harvest to last forever. But it does not. We must plant. The land is barren at this moment. And so we have a lot of work to do. So I want to just begin by thanking you for being here to plant this particular field of vision and justice, to see yourselves over these next 2 days as being in the work of creating a new and better America. I'm not trying to make people not pay attention to what's happening outside these walls. We couldn't if we tried, and it is critical. But it is possible to be mindful of that world and to work inside this world with an eye towards transformation. And so I hope that's the spirit in which we will carry forward over the next 2 days. Now, many of you know that in 2008, I first published a book about lynching and its ongoing effects in the 21st century. And in the course of the years that I took to research that book, I found over and over again the critical intervention, voice, and power of art and artists in keeping alive and present the truth about this uniquely American form of violent white supremacy. When to speak truthfully and publicly about lynching was to court ostracism and danger, artists never stopped talking through their work. And the conversations they were provoking focused on aspects of lynching that civil rights activists and lawyers could not engage as effectively. Artists concerned themselves with the inner life of lynching victims, of the pain suffered by their families, and of the massive contradictions and betrayals that allowed white communities and white families to engage, sometimes with glee, in this ritual of terror. In short stories from Ralph Ellison's A Party Down at the Square, to the score of short stories and poems by Langston Hughes about lynching, to Abel Meeropol's poem Strange Fruit and its haunting, iconic rendering in song by the great Billie Holiday, to modern dance pioneer Katherine Dunham's work, Southland, a powerful work never performed in the United States but performed in South America, to the murals and visual art shown in private homes and apartments. The work of artists played a powerful role in anti-lynching activism. When civil rights activists were unsuccessful in pressing for the passage of anti-lynching legislation, which, by the way, never passed in the 20th century, it was artists who unrelentingly explored the darkest aspects of this act of terror and its implications for the soul of this nation. And this is how my understanding of the role of art and artists in justice work really took hold. During my many civil rights battles as the leader of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, it was driven home again and again that art and artists had to be on the justice team and were often out ahead of us lawyers and professional activists in presenting visions of what could be. And so when I prepared to leave the leadership of LDF to launch a new center at Howard Law School that would encourage students to begin the work of reimagining American democracy through the study and example of the creation of the 14th Amendment, it was clear to me that art and imagination would be one of the pillars of our work, and indeed it is one of the pillars of the center. A year-long fellowship at MoMA, dream come true, allowed me to deepen this effort. The 14th Amendment is, as historian Eric Foner has said, the most consequential addition to the Constitution after the Bill of Rights. It is the provision that introduced birthright citizenship, a little bit in the news these days, and for the first time, an explicit guarantee of equality as a foundational and central aspiration and aspect of our national identity. It changed the ambition for this country. It called for full and first-class citizenship for Black people. And it was born of activism, political theory, intellectual work, art, of the work of thousands of Black and white people over decades. It's a powerful template for the refounding of our nation, a project that I believe at this moment is once again urgently needed. I was and remain convinced that the project that occupies me and my students, the project of imagining and helping found a new iteration of democracy in this country, cannot be done without deep and active collaboration with those among us for whom imagination and creativity is their stock in trade, artists. Fortunately, it is the way of the world that big ideas, transformative ideas, are always incubated in whole or in part within the spirit and minds of multiple people. That's God's way of ensuring that the work gets done. And so it was that at MoMA, I learned about an extraordinary scholar, an art historian who was way out ahead on this. I also ran. And she had already launched a project at Harvard called Vision and Justice. You must connect with her, people told me. And when I did, what a delight it was to discover that this brilliant woman had so much to teach me. We clicked almost immediately and started to brainstorm ways to collaborate. Her invitation to me to have the 14th Amendment Center co-sponsor her second Vision and Justice Conference was an act of pure generosity. What an extraordinary collaboration it has been. More gray hairs, but extraordinary. And I remain thrilled and grateful for the opportunity to learn from her, to share with her, to support her work and vision, and to connect our worlds. Her grace, kindness, fierce intellect, relentless work ethic, and grace under pressure are well known to all of you. Her most recent book, the stunning study, The Unseen Truth When Race Changed Sight in America, just received the 2025 American Book Award. She is everywhere. You'll look up, she'll be at the UN. She's everywhere. I'm looking for her to throw out a first pitch at a baseball game. But she's everywhere, dazzling people with her powerful and eloquent demand that we honestly engage with the construct of race in American public policy, scholarship, and art. And so, without further ado, I present to you the visionary and founder of Vision and Justice, now my partner in crime and now my dear friend, Sarah Elizabeth Lewis. I got you.
Welcome. Good morning. Good morning. It is, for me, an unthinkable dream to have been able to co-organize this Vision and Justice Now convening with Sherrilyn Ifill. I've spent years in deep gratitude for the work of this 21st century civil rights icon. She'll never possibly know how much it meant when she approached me one day at the Gordon Parks Foundation in Cala. I love her. And she came up to me and saluted the work that I had no idea she knew anything about. Sherrilyn, I salute you. Your vision, your leadership, courage, tenacity, rigor, fellowship, sisterhood, for me is one for the ages. She is a paradigm of rigor and generosity, and she is a generational waymaker for all of us. This we know. I'm so grateful that as a lawyer, you've looked to the arts and to the realm of culture more broadly as an indispensable way forward for the work of the democratic imagination. I'm so honored to stand alongside you as we open this Vision and Justice Now convening. What is the role of art and culture for justice? What history shows us is that the answer to this question is key to shaping levers to transform the democratic imagination. And it is key, and has been, for defining who counts and who belongs in the United States. My sense of this fact really is owed to one man who I'd like to thank at the start. When he was in public school in New York City in 1926, in the 11th grade, he had a simple question for his history teacher. Why do the textbooks that we read not present the world around us? He wanted to know where African Americans were, Asian Americans were, indigenous folks were, Latinx people were. And the answer he received from his teacher was that African Americans in particular had done nothing to merit inclusion. And he didn't accept that as an answer, so he asked again. And he was expelled for his so-called impertinence. He became an artist, a musician, and in his paintings, he would create the very scenes he knew he should have been able to find in those history books. That man was my grandfather. My name, Sarah Elizabeth Lewis, bears the initials SEL to honor him. His name is far cooler than mine, Shadrach Emanuel Lee. I now focus on a question that he seemed to ask that day. What is the role of representation, visual culture, in a representational democracy? Culture can be seen as the least important pathway towards justice in the United States, but history shows us that we learn not only through the work of law and policy, but through the work of culture. We learn through the narratives signaled through the built environment, through monuments, through markers, through works of all kinds. Justice fundamentally is the right to be seen, the right to be regarded as who we are. And it has made the work of culture, as I see it, the closest thing we have to a Truth and Reconciliation Commission in the United States. It has made the work of culture the unfinished work of the civil rights movement in America. Why is this? Well, as the many artists and art historians here know, the act of viewing, responding to a work of art, transforms how we interpret the world. Art forces us to transform the what into the why. We do this when we look at a work of art, when we look at a picture in the news, a monument we pass every day without realizing it. When we look at a work of art, we don't just observe. We ask questions that prompt us, that elicit from us to ask why structure in society exist as they are in the United States. If the work of culture is the closest thing that we have to a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, I believe it's for three reasons. Culture has been and remains a route for advocacy when the judicial system offers no means for redress. It can claim the ground, the narrative about who counts and who belongs in advance of legal change. Second, culture is one of the earliest forms we have of contestation or critique on American ground in the face of unjust law. And finally, culture transforms us from being observers into active collective agents. It's a fact Frederick Douglass understood as he gave a speech at the start of the Civil War in Boston's Tremont Temple and stunned his audience when he wanted to speak not about the power of force and combat, but what would have seemed like a trifle in the state of that nation-severing conflict, pictures, and the importance they had in transforming the imagination to consider what could be. He knew, born enslaved, transformed into a man who was a statesman, if not in title, in action, that it would take the work that we are up to here at this convening for us to transform our sense of one another on American ground. He states at the end of his speech that it might take 150 years for people to come along and better explain what he meant. Such a humble statement. And I know we have in this room and soon on this stage the very artists, thinkers, and leaders who he had in mind. We've created this convening because it's time that we finally reckon with what Frederick Douglass understood, what Sherrilyn Ifill understands, what my grandfather knew and paid the price for knowing. And we have the space to do so now. The first convening in 2019, I'm grateful, could take place at Harvard University. Many of those who I was honored to have accept the invitation to speak are again with us today, as their work has only deepened in impact and effect. But now, as you see here, I have a comrade in Sherrilyn Ifill, a new stalwart supporter of this work that I couldn't have dreamt or scripted for myself. I'm grateful that this convening can take place in 2025 because it is really during periods of crisis when we're forced to see the narrative at the heart of the laws we create, the principles society claims to uphold. States of emergency expose the conditions that have been there all the while. And it's often only then that we realize that we have underestimated the power of culture and art for justice. My promise is that you will leave today and tomorrow transformed to consider the work of culture anew in the project of the democratic imagination. My charge to you now is to look to your neighbor, to your right, or to your left, and know that you're going to leave transformed together as new community. I'm going to give you some time to do this. I can already, yeah. So we have a powerful community gathered here. It could not have happened without a dream team, an extraordinary set of partners. Our event partners, Kazimi, led by Katie Hughes, and Charlene Coronin, thank you, thank you, thank you. We have many we're going to thank. I'd like to thank now the team at Sky Blue Media, the filmmaker Natalie Johns. We have countless security, staff of all kinds, a team of over 50 people that have lovingly prepared today and tomorrow for you all. But it would not be possible without our dynamic, indefatigable partners at the Ford Foundation, led by Juliet Burariwa, wherever she is, flying through this extraordinary space, Carly Machado, Elise Green, and of course, Darren Walker. Our extraordinary leader here at the Ford Foundation. We would not be standing without them today. I'd like for us all to just give them one more round of applause. And we have one more set of remarks. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I like for Sarah to be good cop. But I just want to say one more thing. What I want to say is that we are here gathered in this space at a moment of challenge for many of us in various ways. And we want to, first of all, protect one another, right? We have to be responsible for our safety. And so I know we all have a lot of feelings. We're all feeling some type of way. Listen, today is the opening day of the Supreme Court session, so I'm having feelings, okay? But I do want to encourage you as we go through these sessions today to just be mindful, right, of, we want honest conversation, but we want to deal with the forces that have brought us to this moment. And we do want to deal with how we can confront this moment, but I want to encourage you to just exercise care and caution for yourselves and for the house that we're in as we have this conversation with one another. You all know exactly what I mean, and so, but I just want to make sure that it's said because we are here and this is a wonderful space to be, and we are all similarly facing a threat. And we have to be honest about that as well and conduct ourselves accordingly. So thank you all very, very much. We're going to begin now with our first panel. And the first panel, I want to get the name right, because we were very careful and cute about these panel names, you may have noticed. So we're not going to just create little short names for them. This first panel is Monuments and Commemorations, Race, Culture, and Civic Space. So get ready, because once we start, this thing just keeps rolling and it's fire, okay? Get ready.